Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to say a warm welcome to CEO Steen Thygesen, or CEO of the company Audientes, working with devices for hearing aids. So, warm welcome, Steen.
Thank you very much. And thank you for tuning in here to my presentation regarding Audientes and what we're doing to address hearing loss around the world. I put together a flow of I think, relevant items that I think will give you a really good understanding of where Audientes is as a company, what we're focusing on, and what we're looking to achieve going forward. We're a company that has a very clear mission, and that is to address hearing loss around the world, making sure that everyone has access to an affordable quality solution. We were founded back in 2014 as Nokia wound down its operations in Denmark in the R&D space. Our company was founded with this clear mission by a person, Hossein Yelvi, who had been coming originally from Iran, and he knew exactly how hearing loss was not really well treated in his part of the world. And that has been the driving force behind what we have been striving to achieve. Our initial focus has been on Asia and the unique set of demographics and challenges in that particular region. Now, we started ramping up production late last year, and we entered the Indian market this year in Q1. We had our full first quarter of sales in Q2, and now, of course, we are well into the market now and developing that much further. Now, why Asia? Well, there is this unique distribution of people with hearing loss that is very much, you can say, negatively tipping in the favor of Asia. Around 60% of the world's population with disabling hearing loss is in Asia, whereas you can say the remaining 40% are in other parts of the world with, you really like the Western countries, maybe around 20% is where the main bulk of the market is today for the more expensive hearing aids. Now, overcoming hearing loss, of course, you can say when you look at it from a numbers point of view, it's a staggering number. Around 500 million people today is expected to have disabling hearing loss. And that number is set to grow towards 700 million towards 2050, according to the WHO. The challenge is that only around 17 million devices are sold every year. And since most people need 2 hearing aids, you can really see it's only maybe around 8-9 million people each year that get the benefit of a hearing aid. And that, you can say, will never plug the gap between those who have something and those who need it. And why is that the case? Well, it's very much due to price. Expensive hearing aids, of course, are really beholden for people in countries where the buying, you can say, opportunity is much greater. On the other hand, availability of hearing aids is also a challenge because it needs experts all the way in the process to help a person find a hearing aid, have it fitted, and then fine-tuned as the person continues to use it. So what do people do instead? Well, they resort to inexpensive amplifiers that unfortunately destroys the hearing that is actually good today because they amplify equally across the entire frequency spectrum. And as FDA in the US says, this is really a bad solution and it's not aimed for people who has hearing loss. So what we have done instead, we have looked at the entire set of problems and created a self-contained solution that essentially we call it a self-fitting hearing aid. So we believe that this solution will enable a paradigm shift in hearing health in terms of how many people can get access to an affordable and accessible solution. And as doing that, we have a very direct impact on at least 3 of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. It's no poverty, good health and well-being, and reduced inequalities. And why is that the case? Well, it's because when a person with hearing loss get a good solution, that person can continue to earn a living, have a job, have a good life, be in contact with people, and not being excluded from society. And those points is what we are working with in every market we go in because we can see there's a direct correlation between hearing health and good life quality. So the ordinary process for acquiring a hearing aid is actually full of many steps. So as I mentioned before, you have to find an expert, you have to book the time, you have to travel quite far to meet a person that can help you, have a hearing aid fitted, and then come back for ongoing fitting. So what we have done, we have digitized that entire process and built it into our solution. I should say it's the initial solution for Audientes, of course. The platform we have developed for software and hardware is essentially something we can pull in many directions. But today we're in the market with Ven. It's a good Scandinavian name for someone you can trust that is always with you, but it's an affordable and accessible self-fitting hearing aid with all the qualities that a much more expensive hearing aid of the traditional type has. So it supports both ears, which is what's called binaural treatment for hearing loss. It has self-fitted, is using the industry standard ways of testing hearing loss with what's called pure tones, and is using the industry standard fitting algorithm called NL2 from the National Acoustic Laboratories that we have licensed and built in to the product. So it's a really good quality solution, and it doubles as a really good headset when you are using it to stream music, listen to TV and so on, using Bluetooth of course, and it comes with rechargeable battery and therefore a very low maintenance cost in actually using it on a day-to-day basis. So this solution is now available in the Indian market. We have been marketing that since really at the end of Q1. Now we're introducing a new product. It's called Companion, and Companion is a slightly different solution. It builds on the same hardware and software platform, but it's tailored for consumer electronic markets in, for example, Europe and the US, where there is certain, you can say, limitations on what constitutes a hearing aid, but where you can say a lot of people still need access to a solution that can help them hear better in different situations. So what we have made is a situational hearing solution. It fits in this category called advanced hearables, but it essentially has many of the same hallmarks as Ven, but it is not categorized as a hearing aid. This allows us to enter new markets and you can say build new channels and of course accelerate the growth of our company. Now the target group is what you can call boomers and Gen Xers, so it's essentially people like myself who are at a point in our life where we may need a hearing aid at some point, but maybe not yet, but still need better, you can say, hearing in certain situations. This is going to be a really good solution for that. So what we're focusing on essentially is creating a complete portfolio that allows us to play in two of the key markets today, advanced hearables and medical grade hearing aids. So part of our roadmap is introducing Ven, the hearing aid, in new markets with, for example, FDA approval and the European MDR approval. So you will see from us a roadmap that has these elements being launched in the coming years. But as I said, right now we're focusing on addressing this other opportunity that is in the advanced hearable space. This is the new growth market that is projected to, of course, be worth many billions already in this year. But essentially, it's this intersection between medical devices and consumer appliances. And this is a really interesting place to be. And of course, we are in that later this year, launching Companion in Q4. Now today in India, I think we can use that as a really good example of how we go to market. So we have found in all our work in India the last 5 years that when people have hearing loss and need a hearing aid, they go and talk to experts. They go and talk to their doctor, who typically advise them to go to an ENT specialist, ear, nose and throat specialist, and then they will get advice on probably to consult a hearing aid clinic. Now, when you introduce a product like ours, even though it's self-fitting, it's a really good place to be present where expert can vouch for your quality. So we have developed a quite large now network in India of hearing aid clinics across the country that is stocking our product and is introducing that in their portfolio alongside much more expensive products because they can see we fit in an area where they don't have an offering today. It's very easy, you can say, to sell a self-fitting device, but they like to offer also this extra level of support that means that our initial customers can get a really good experience. So retail partnerships is what we've been really focusing on. We are now expanding that to pharmacies, opticians, and also even electronic stores. We will see us plugging into that in the coming months, of course. Now, online is, of course, something that also in India is growing rapidly. Now, we have a presence today on e-tailer sites like Amazon.in with a brand store, Flipkart, and we are soon launching on 1mg, which is a specialist health and well-being e-tailer site. Now, we think online is still at an early stage in its take-up in India, but we can see that our solution is really, you can say, easily accessible, and therefore it's a great fit for online. So all the experience we are now gaining from India, we're going to use that when we launch in other markets. We already have, you can say, the global e-commerce platform built. Now, the customer experience we are aiming at for online is going to be, it's really simple. It's actually built so it has got a really good optimization for mobile phones. More than 90% of our users are coming from mobile phones in India. So this is the place that you can say commerce also take place at. But we've really been focusing on creating a nice experience. But now what we're doing, we are bridging that with the offline availability of the product. So a person can essentially buy the product online and pick it up in a hearing aid clinic somewhere in the vicinity and get that level of support the person may want. So this is kind of, you can say, bridging offline and online retail is something that we are really focusing on because it adds value to all our partners in the value chain, and it helps us really learn a lot about customer needs and how they kind of find us and what to do afterwards. Our growth strategy, of course, starts with India, but also you can say we're expanding in other parts of Asia now, step by step, but really in many adjacent countries with same kind of demographics and challenges. The next step we are going to go to is basically it's the US, where there is already now opportunities for us to launch the companion product. A bit more longer term, we're going to launch an FDA-approved over-the-counter hearing aid later on in 2023. Now in Europe and in Latin America, we are also going to enter with companion in the short term, and then slightly longer term, we think in 2024, we will be also introducing an MDR-approved hearing aid, which of course is the European Medical Device Approval Scheme. So we've got a really good roadmap. We take them step by step, but we also definitely oriented towards where people are actually asking us to come because they learn about our offering online and so on. Now, the Indian market opportunity, of course, should not go, you can say, without any numbers. So India, huge country, around 100 million people with hearing loss and only around 8.5 million people with a hearing aid today. So there's really a large opportunity for us to develop. And, 33% is in the large cities, but 67% out in rural India. So we've got a really good focus now on also developing go-to-market in rural India. The US opportunity, again, something that has been developing over the last few years. In the last month or so, we actually got more clarity around what are the rules. And now they are published. And now we can start actually preparing the product and launch that. And in our case, we're going to do that later next year. So an FDA-cleared device is definitely in the roadmap of us in the shorter term. Now, the people behind all of this has a lot of relevant industry background. I have to say, many of us have had a good career at Nokia. We have the former head of Nokia's global R&D, Peter Röbke, on the board, and Frank Vium, who has been spending years developing Nokia's mobile phone business abroad. We've got Paul André and Gitte, both with expertise from medical device companies. And of course, we've got a very strong leadership team that has got expertise both from online, from the classic hearing aid industry, and from actually creating great products with consumer appeal. This is the company that are today, you can say, the group of people that are making up the company today. And of course, we've got a good number of other people. We're around 20 people today and has got a really good set of external partners we work with as well. In terms of where we are with our business today, as I said, we started generating real revenue really in first half, and we rounded 1 million Danish kroner in revenue. And of course, we are set to, you can say, continue to build on that. And our aim for this year is between 9 and 12 million Danish kroner in revenue. A lot of that is going to come, of course, in the latter part of the year, but we are on this trajectory now with the product in the market, and you can say a lot of opportunities that we are trying to capitalize on now. So we have made a big move recently. We moved from Nasdaq First North Growth Market in Denmark to the Spotlight Stock Market, the list in Denmark. And why we did this is really we want to broaden our investor reach and really grow the Swedish investor base that we think Sweden has got an extremely interesting, more mature market. People understand medical device companies, and I think this is exactly where we are now going to focus on a good deal in our outreach. We have got around 3,000 investors, predominantly in Denmark today, and we're really looking to grow that investor base in Sweden. Now, of course, in the short term, we're driving Ven sales in India, launching it in other markets, and now we are really focusing also on launching successfully the companion product later this year. So why invest in Audientes is, of course, a really good question. Now, as I outlined, we have a really unique opportunity in a high-growth market. Hearing aids And especially the new advanced hearables categories are melting together and creating this new market that we think we can address a lot of people's needs for good solutions for. We've got a very clear positioning in India's market initially, in the very, you can say, the middle class of India, 300 million people plus, with all, you can say, they know someone with hearing loss. And our solution is something they can essentially pick up easily and share with a family member, or people can buy them themselves. It costs, you can say, the same as a kind of like mid-level mobile phone in India. So this is definitely within the reach of a lot of people. Over time, we will bring out solutions that are also priced more, you can say easily accessible. But right now, we've got a great offering in the market. And we've got a good roadmap that will take us into other markets around the world and capitalize on the development we've already made. Now, this, you can say, solution we have developed this hardware and software platform that allows us to access many different form factors from one platform and create solutions that we can put into the market around the world. We've got a clear focus on medical device, you can say approvals. FDA, the MDR in Europe and so forth, is something that allows us to tap into even larger markets, including the existing market for hearing aids. But we're not ignoring the opportunities that are essentially around consumer electronic products. And the team we have assembled is a very strong team. As I said, Denmark, subsidiary in India. We've got a really good execution machine built now. And our aim really is to create a fourth, you can say, large actor in the Nordic region that does great work within hearing health. And as I said, we have now changed marketplace. This is the early days for us at Spotlight. We are really looking forward to learn much about, you can say, the conditions in the market, in developing our profile in Sweden. And welcome a lot of, you can say, interaction with interested investors. This is what we do. We love to hear what people think about us, and that'll always enable us to think better about our business and how to meet all the expectations that are in the space. So this is what I had prepared in this presentation. I think we can move to the next phase and take questions. And thank you very much for listening in. It's been a great opportunity here in Lund. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Steen. Your self-fitting equipment, how are they also giving the same quality of hearing aid as the non-self-fitting equipment?
Yes, because we're using the same kind of test and we're using the same fitting paradigm, we're getting extremely close to what a professional can do. And we have the benefit that the hearing test is made with the actual device. So you don't have to translate from having a hearing test made using a, you can say, a special headset and then program it into a device. We're doing it in what is called in situ, which means that you can get really, really close to real life fit. So we say above 90% of what a very experienced hearing specialist would do is what we are aiming at.
Okay, so you just recently published your first quarterly report.
Yes.
With the sales during the whole
Yes.
quarter. Congratulations to that.
Thank you.
Can you summarize a little bit what came out well, and were there some disappointments regarding sales?
Well, I think one has to realize that, of course, we are early on in this process of introducing a product in a new category in a new market. And we've done a lot of work prior to actually starting to sell, getting to know people, building up the retail presence. But then, of course...
Sound a bit reluctant, I think.
No, but once you start introducing the product in the market, they have to always start to internalize what this is about, and we have to educate people, and consumers have to sort of test it and so on. So that's the process we have been. So you can say, had we been able to get into the market earlier than we had expected, we would have been, I think, further ahead. But I think,
of course, yeah.
Introducing a product like this and selling what we did is actually, it's really good for a hearing aid type of offering. So I think we're really happy,
Okay.
and that we got out of the gate and into the market.
I think I heard you talking about how your clients in India said that, oh, hell, we have so much noise here in India,
Yes.
and you're supposed to adjust your products. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, yeah. So basically, this product comes with a number of predefined programs that you can select, and we learned basically that as individuals, you can say we're using the actual offering. We have this app that you can select different programs on. Now this is connected to my hearing aid device, that they needed more suppression for, you can say, noise than we had expected, because the noise levels are really high. And of course, when you are in a heavily ventilated environment, you also need to somehow suppress ventilators in the ceiling. So these are all the things that are coming in, and of course, ears in India are different than ears in our part of the world. And even though we had, you can say, tested a lot, we are sort of learning about what people are looking for and what they need. So we are trying to evolve the offering and add these extra things into the actual proposition.
And
so
that's possible to do as well. You will
yes, because
succeed.
Yes, so you can say a lot of the magic that we're doing with these things is in the software. But when it comes to like ear tips, we have made sort of a quite modular solution where you can sort of essentially assemble the fit, the physical fit, in a way that it fits really well into your particular ear.
Yeah.
So we're sort of trying with different ear tips and sleeves, as we call it, trying really to make sure that we have got something that is helps everyone.
I hear you talk about the quality, the high quality, and how easy to use it is, and self-fitting and everything. But I apologize, it's not the most beautiful thing I've seen. Are you planning to produce it in different colors and different designs?
Yes.
Or is that completely irrelevant to your customers?
No, it's not totally relevant. But what we have been trying to do is to create a product that addresses a lot of the needs that people are expressing. And what they're expressing is the need for something that is robust, where you can essentially that has a long lifetime, and where you can wear it and kind of forget that you are having it on, and when you don't need it, you can take it out of your ear and just leave it. Whereas if you have something on, you have to have it on all the time, or you have to kind of take it out and put it in your pocket. Many people lose these small devices, so we've been trying to pick something that was a well-known, accepted form factor for headsets and build, you can say, this hearing aid solution around it. And this neck-worn concept is actually, it's quite well-known in many consumer markets, and doesn't look like a hearing aid. That's the benefit.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
Yes.
You launched Companion this July. You told me, or you told the audience, that it differs somewhat from your former products. Are you also targeting another kind of target groups or different customers? And
so you can say on the journey from, you can say, mild hearing loss to severe hearing loss, Ven is really in the upper end of that category. It can amplify quite significantly, whereas Companion is for mild to up towards the sort of moderate hearing loss, but it's really, you can say, it addresses a set of other needs for clarity and you can say enhancement of the actual sounds versus correcting for hearing loss. So this is something that, again, you can say the whole over-the-counter legislation that has come out in the US. This is, you can say, this is in between those two segments.
Okay.
So there's this continuum of different needs, and we are trying with Companion to address this sort of, you can say, the earlier stages of where people need something to enhance their hearing.
Okay. Now with the inflation and the world, it's a harsh time, and a lot of people are probably thinking about how to cut their expenses and so on. How do you think this will affect your market? Is this something?
Well, I would say
that worries you.
Possibly in quite positive ways, because as people are maybe having less money to invest in hearing aids, because we are in the lower end of the price point, I think that actually is going to work for us really nicely. And there will be some people that can say, well, I can't go for those I had thought, let me try this instead.
Okay.
And,
because you are not in the reimbursement system?
Or no, we are not currently. I think over time we will be. But again, reimbursement, in order to get reimbursement, you have to go through a quite lengthy process of approval. And you can say you have to be approved by the state. And many people don't necessarily want to do that or spend time doing that. And maybe there's like...
So this is not so important to you?
No, it's not. I think in some markets it could be a benefit if we could get on the, you can say, a recommended list of that. We will work on that, and I think as we get the medical device approvals for Ven in certain markets, we can go for that. Yeah.
You also made some quite unusual shift. You went from First North to Spotlight. Yes. Can you describe? It's quite unusual, as I said. Can you describe what was the plan behind this? Yeah.
Well, we have been working on essentially a plan for a good while on what does it take for a company like ours to get the right, you can say, attachment in the investor market, not just in Denmark, but across the Nordics. And we've learned that the sort of average liquidity in the shares are much greater at Spotlight. And as we had that intention, our advisors recommended us to make this move as part of the long-term growth strategy.
And maybe it's a bit less expensive as well, or?
It's less expensive in some ways, but I think as a listed company, you still have this, you can say, kind of compliance overhead. So it's not like a cakewalk. You still have to, you can say, perform. So I think the level of governance is the same. But I think for us, it's an opportunity to reach more people with our communications like we are here today.
Okay, are you trying to in any way change your shareholders list?
Yes, absolutely. So
what's important for you?
We have probably like 99.3% of investors from Denmark. We would love to expand that with investors in Sweden. Yeah.
We have some interesting questions there, maybe from your potential investors here. One interesting regarding the culture. What is the biggest culture differences that you face doing business in India?
Well, it's India has actually a very high level of service-mindedness. So they expect really prompt quality support all the way around.
Okay.
And I didn't know that when I started working in India, but people are really looking for, you can say, they're looking for a good deal, but they're also looking for high quality. Mm-hmm. So you can say we're kind of in that space anyway, kind of high quality, low cost. So for us, it's that has surprised me. I think in some ways.
Okay, are they having a lot of pressure on you, or? No,
but you can say that they're very vocal about what they want and how they like it, and since we are working with the hearing aid clinics, they're used to service that, you can say, clientele. But of course, they are also putting requirements on us. So I think it's helping us become really good at operating in those markets.
Okay. We have another question regarding the markets. The question is, do you plan to expand to new markets? I think you talked a little bit about that, but can you? Yeah.
Well, so the answer is yes, obviously, in the US and in Europe to begin with. And there's also, I would say, there's pockets of opportunities that we have been confronted with in other markets. I mean, even like in Brazil and Chile, there's interest in what we are doing because there's certain needs that you can say where we fit in really well. So
can you tell me a little bit, how do you analyze, how do you validate the markets before you decide to, this is our go-to market?
Well, we have actually used the Danish embassy kind of trade councils quite a lot in Asia to do, you can say, a sweep of the different markets. In other markets, we have got people who reach out to us and we take the dialogue and we uncover, you can say, either blockers or opportunities. And we have got people in our team that has been developing emerging markets for other hearing aid companies. So we have that, you can say, basic understanding.
Okay, that sounds great. We have time for one last question. That's regarding the financial situation. So how is the financial situation, this viewer wants to know? And also, do you need to make a cash injection? I mean, probably you can't say too much about this.
We have actually publicized that earlier this year, that we are looking to here in the, you can say, Q3, end of Q3, start of Q4, we're going to go out with, you can say, a rights issue for existing shareholders, but also for new, of course. Today we just called for an EGM to, you can say, to decide on some of the, you can say, the elements of going out with that. So yeah, we are in that process now.
And giving what you just talked about, can you summarize a little bit? What can you say about your financial situation?
Well, I can't say that much apart from what we already have published. That we have sort of we're working our way towards that, and expect to execute that in the coming quarter.
Okay, so that's good. Thank you so much for your time and your presentation. So let's give Steen a warm applause. Those of us that are here. Tack så jättemycket. Det var alltså vd Steen Thygesen från Audientes. Nu tar vi en kort paus. Vi har bytt till svenska som ni hör. Vi tar en kort paus och återkommer alldeles strax med en presentation av Audientes.